Hey, what's going on, you guys? I'm out of work for the day, and as soon as I got out, I didn't really get a chance to look outside at all today during work, and I walked out the door, and the sky is just wild with big, billowy clouds, some of them dark. It looked like maybe stormy weather today, so I fired up the old radar scope radar app, which I highly recommend, and Michigan is just lit up with little cells, storm cells all over the place. Sadly, none of them are close to me. They're all about 2 hours away in the north or west directions. The westerly ones, though, could make their way to me, which is cool. But regardless, the sky looks phenomenal today, and I really don't have a whole lot of time to stop, but I'm going to stop and shoot anyways because it only takes a minute to get a shot. My kit today, not my ideal landscape kit. It's the Pen F, and I don't have anything super wide. I had the 8mm fisheye in the bag, but I took it out to take to Kensington Metro Park for the nature walk that I did yesterday. So the widest I've got is the 17mm f1.8. So I guess what I'm going to say right now, I guess, is like the tip of the day. If you can't shoot wide, shoot pano. Make it wide, right? So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the manual focus clutch on the 17, put it in manual focus mode, focus out into the distance, where I want my focus set. I'm going to be probably stopped down to like F8, so I've got a lot in focus. And I'm going to use auto exposure lock, so I'm going to meter my scene so that I've got my clouds not overexposed, because the structure in these clouds is freaking ridiculous. And I'm just going to fire off a series of shots and stitch a pano together from it. Will I use the 17? Actually, I'm not going to. I think I'm going to use the 45 1.8 that I've got in the bag, because I want to reach out there, because some of these clouds are just really big and billowy. So I want to make sure that I can get them in the shot, and the longest I can reach is 45 millimeters. The spot I'm going to stop is one I've stopped at a couple of times on this vlog. It's just a really cool location to shoot a landscape, because there's this big rolling countryside with a big hill, and the clouds, as I'm looking, look like they'll be positioned right behind it. So wish me luck. I'm going to stop here in a second on the side of the road, put my hazard lights on so people know that I'm stopped, get out and fire maybe like a 10-shot pano, and I'll stitch it together when I get home, and I'll make sure that it gets shared on here. So let me tune out and do some shooting. So I just thought of something. I'm so excited. I was rambling off how I'm going to do this shot, and I mentioned engaging the manual focus clutch, and then I jumped over and said I would use the 45mm. That doesn't have the manual focus clutch, so never mind that faux pas. It's just the adrenaline because I'm excited to get a shot. So what I'm going to do, though, is put the camera into manual focus mode and shoot that way. If I were shooting with a different lens, like the 12 to 40 or something, yeah, manual focus clutch all the way. All right, I'm at my spot. I'm going to pull over now, and I don't think the cloud's going to be exactly where I want it, but I still think I can get a good shot here. Like I said, wish me luck. That's where I'm shooting, right up there. Turn on my hazards here. Jump out. I'll be back. Hey, so I'm back on the road again, and I'm almost to my son's school. I think I got a couple of good shots. Let me get around this truck here. Somebody's getting water for their swimming pool today. Yay! Anyway, so like I said, I shot with the 45 1.8. There was a lot of traffic, so I was a little sidetracked with just trying to make sure that I was far enough off the road and all that. I didn't even pay attention to my aperture. So I'm guessing I was probably shooting wide open, but it doesn't matter because I was shooting with the electronic shutter. So regardless of how bright it was, using the electronic silent shutter, I had plenty fast enough shutter speed. And I did also use auto exposure lock to lock my exposure so that the clouds were not overexposed. and the foreground was not underexposed. You could probably pull this off with shutter speed as well, but I didn't do that for one reason alone. Right, because I forgot. That's about it. Alright, I'm going to let you go, wait for my son to get out of school, do a little catching up on social media for the next 20 minutes. Hey, what's going on, you guys? So I am back home and decided to end the video or today's vlog post with me just running through the roadside image that I shot, so you can just kind of get a look at how I do what I do. Like I said before, the camera I was using was the Pen F with the 45mm f1.8 on it. Not your typical landscape lens, I guess, maybe, but you can see this cloud structure right here, and that was what I was really concerned with getting. And if I shot ultra wide, that cloud structure would be super tiny in the shot. So I used the longest lens that I had with me. And in all honesty, had I had a different setup with me, like the 40-150 even, I might have shot that like around 100mm, maybe even more, just so that I could get the clouds really big. Now I would have had to have shot a lot more frames in order to create a panel, but with this one I'm going to use I shot, let me see here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 10 shots that are going to go into this one panel. It's not an even number. Again, I was really distracted with the cars driving by because I happened to be there at like a rush hour period, or I don't know, it was just really busy. So basically, yeah, so what I'm going to do here in Lightroom, I'm just going to select those 10, and I'm going to go to Photo, Edit in, Photoshop, and I know I can merge here in Lightroom. You know what? Maybe we'll just try it in Lightroom. It seems like I always have better luck merging outside of Lightroom and Photoshop. And maybe it's just that I suck at a little message there from Tracy McGlasky. Maybe it's just that I suck at setting up for a panel. I just try and wing it and do it while I'm standing. I don't set up on a tripod and keep everything perfect. I figure software is powerful enough, it should be able to kind of interpret what I'm trying to do. All right, well, it looks like it worked. This isn't going to be probably the most compelling composition, but this kind of goes to how I like to work with images. So I'm going to try and turn this into a little bit more of an interesting photo. So once it gets done creating the panorama here in Lightroom, you can see it working up here on the left. So I've got a little chat going with Tracy McGlasky and Alex McClure, Laura Hicks, Mike Baining on Facebook. So hopefully this doesn't get interrupted constantly. So there we go. Oh my gosh. So it's done merging. And where is my finished product at? It should be at the end of the row here, right? There we go. Eek. Come on. Get off of there. All right, so there it is. Like I said, probably not the most dramatic and compelling composition, but I'm going to work with what I've got here. So now I'm going to shoot it over to Nick's HDR Effects Pro 2, or Google's, I guess, whoever is running that piece of software property. I guess Google. It's free now. If you didn't know, if you didn't hear, if you live in a cave, the whole Nick suite of software is free, so run over and get it. All right, so it's opening up here. Technically not an HDR. It's kind of like a faux HDR because it's all just a single image that we're working with here. Starting off with one of the default presets here in HDR Effects Pro 2. This one is titled Deep 1, and I think this is just an out-of-the-box preset. So what I'm going to do here is, one of the first things I always do when I'm working on these is I drop my black slider way down. It gets a little too overly dramatic, like in these areas right there, so maybe I won't go quite as extreme with it, and maybe I'll take a different approach to darkening up these areas in the sky here. But what I'm going to want to do for sure, though, is I'm going to want to increase the structure to bring out the definition in these clouds, because for me that was kind of the highlight of this whole stop, was the cloud structure that was forming. This ended up developing into looked like a decent storm quite a bit further east of where I was at. All right, down here at the bottom, this is your faux graduated neutral density filter. I want to take the lower part of the image and I want to drop the exposure down a little bit so it doesn't look so bright and overdone. And actually it gives it a little more contrast down there as well. I think I need to turn the structure down just a little bit. If you turn up the structure too much on that slider, it gets really gritty and grainy up in your image, and you definitely don't want to do that. Still got this dark spot right here. It's a little bit darker than I would want, so I'm going to throw a control point in there, and I'm going to resize it to fit there a little bit. And I think I can just start bumping the exposure a little bit to make it look not quite as bad right there. I think that works. A little bit better. All right, so good enough for here in the HDR Effects 2 develop module. Fire it back over to Lightroom and work a little bit more on it there. And let it save out. Kind of curious of the file size of this as well. So here's one of those bugs that I run into that I guess it's kind of cool to be able to show it. So I closed out of HDR Effects. Where's my image? It's not here. And I found that sometimes I need to actually like go back to the library module and then click on like another day or another folder and then click right back in, and usually it shows up, which it did right there. Right, you can see it right there. Weird, I know. Maybe it's just me. It's probably just my luck. So I'm back in the develop module here in Lightroom, and this is where I like to start to play with little individual components of it. So I'm going to start off with the hue, saturation, and luminance sliders over here. I've got it set on luminance, which is going to be how bright the color is that you're working with. And I want to darken the blues up just a bit. And I want to darken those greens just a bit. And then go to the saturation slider, and you can slide it up and make those blues bluer or bring it back down so that they're not quite as intense. Right about there is good. And bump that green up just a little bit. My favorite slider in Lightroom, I use this slider on freaking everything because it has a different effect on different things that you're working on. So dehaze would take the fog out of the sky or put fog into the sky if you went the opposite way with the slider. But I have a feeling right down in this section right here, it's going to kind of give a little more definition, which it did. A little bit more through here though, so now you can actually see some structure underneath this cloud that wasn't even visible before too much. So the clouds are looking pretty intense. And I don't need to mess with the sharpening or the noise reduction. I'm pretty happy with where that's at. Let's give a little more contrast to the entire image. And I think I'm good with that. Now, what I screwed up in doing, I should have done in Photoshop, is this right here. So let me go to edit it in Photoshop. I don't do keyboard shortcuts often enough, I guess. This radio antenna back here in the background is killing me. I can't stand telephone poles, power lines, antenna, things like that. If I can compose them out of the scene, then obviously that's what I go for. But in this case, there was no way to do it. So I'm just going to come over here, grab my little pen, and you can see right here I've got patch tool up because I use that quite a bit. Now these guidelines or guy wires or whatever they're called on this tower, I'm not even going to waste the time taking those out because unless you're viewing this like really large, you're not even going to notice them. But just a quick selection around the antenna. Select the patch tool. There you go. Just like that. I'm getting all kinds of notifications tonight. And there you have it. That's pretty much where I would leave things. So we'll save this out. And let's go back into Lightroom. No antenna. There it is. So what do you think? Quick, it takes like 5 minutes to run through this style of processing and on an image. I tweak it a little bit per image, obviously, or different types of setups, I'll do it a little differently, but there you have it. That's what I shot today. You didn't see me shooting it, but I explained how I did it, and then I just showed you how I create the finished product. This will end up over on Flickr, so you know the links are down below in the vlog post description. So swing on over to Flickr and give her a little like. You guys take care, and I will talk to you later.